All right, let's no power outs, right? What's going on? This is like communism. I can't hear you. Your mic sucks ass. I gotta go close my door anyway. Clap. No, you can't. I can't hear you. You still suck. Hold on. I'll be right back. I gotta close the door. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't ordered a camera. Where are you? What's wrong with your mic? Do we need to call each other? This is communism. Hold on. Make sure my headphones are in. Power's on. I got those Beats. Dre, you're wearing the hatchet again. Your cord. Okay. Okie dokie. I guess we could just do. Have you seen Martian? Yeah, well, that's come up. You could do that thing where we could draw a diagram and you could spin your camera. Or I don't have a camera. Never mind. Are you recording all this? It says live, but I can't hear you. Yeah, you still can't hear you. I like Puma. That's my official. That's my official shoe of choice lately. Puma made your shirt. That's what made me think of it. My buddy Barry Martinez gave me a pair of Pumas a long time ago, and I used those Pumas to mow my lawn. There it is. I hear you
now, right?
There it is. Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was going to be another busted week.
Nah, dude. No way.
Yeah.
Not on my watch.
Dude.
Dude.
I haven't seen you in a while or heard from you in a while. It's been like 3 weeks or something.
I know. We keep trying this. It keeps not working.
Yeah.
It's still like that's sort of not our faults.
Okay.
It's a little bit our faults and then largely not.
But at least we get to hang out a little bit as we try and do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think anybody knows these stories, but we've tried the last 3 weeks and each time something just ridiculous has happened. So
it's truth. It's true.
Last week, Google shut down for some reason, so that ruined our whole thing.
I didn't think that was a possibility.
I didn't think so either. Too big to fail. That's what I thought, but
yeah,
I was wrong.
We almost tried Hotmail.
Yeah, turns out that's hard to use. They haven't updated in a while. This is a good time to give a shout out to Google Hangouts and YouTube, which make this podcast possible because I don't understand the technology. Yeah, I really don't get the technology otherwise, so. We tried it an old way before. It's just so much extra work. But Google Hangouts is like so much simpler. So
good job, Googs.
Yeah, way to go, Google. But then last week they reminded us that they don't always work.
They still
learned a lesson there, a valuable lesson.
Valuable lesson.
I
got 2 or 3 lists, so I don't even know which ones.
Yeah, go with the newest one. Let's just pretend the other stuff never happened. That's what I did. I don't know.
Okay,
that's not true, but that is kind of.
Are we still rolling? Like, is this B-roll?
Yeah, but we can dive in whenever we want. I think we've got enough B-roll.
Okay,
I've got like 3 half episodes I can pull from if I want
to. And then it'd be fun to just throw Bianca's voice in there every once in a while.
Yeah, just to confuse people because we've never actually posted that one. Man, that was so much fun. We gotta figure out how to do that again.
Yeah.
We have a hard enough time with 2 of us trying to do this. Have you ever noticed
that? Okay. Oh, do I start?
Well, I think technically we're on episode 26 still.
Okay, is that you?
So that's me.
Okay.
So
we're doing 5 best, and I am Jason. That's my buddy Greg. Greg is kind of the hub for the whole thing, and we've been friends for a long time. He's a pastor down in San Antonio, Texas. I'm a pastor up in Muskegon, Michigan, and we use this as an opportunity to hang out and get to talk to each other, and we just go through the 5 best things that we've encountered over the last week or so, and. But I'll say it this time. If you aren't a subscriber, please subscribe and also rate it and pass it on. Just because, I don't know, maybe we'll get some free t-shirts out of it. That's what my hopes are.
Someday, Jason. Someday it's going to happen.
And
the subscribing and rating really does make it easier for people to find us. That's the big thing. So
that's the big deal.
Yeah.
And we're encountering growth. People keep texting me, when the heck are you going to post another one? And I'm always like, I don't post anything.
Never, if it's up to me.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's true.
And we switch off who starts, and I still
this week I get to go first. You got it.
I think it has something to do with it has to do with the moon, right?
Yeah, depending on where the moon is in its lunar cycle.
Lunar calendar.
Yeah. You get it. It's the same. It's just like talking to women. You get it. You're good at it.
And we've determined that we've skipped a couple weeks, but we're just gonna keep cruising like nothing else happened.
That's right. We're gonna pretend like we actually recorded those. All right. So my number one is a sad one, but I don't know. I don't know how to explain this ever. But my number one, this guy Jose Fernandez pitches for the Marlins or pitched for the Marlins, and he was 24 years old. He's a Cuban defector, so he left Cuba when he was like 15 to come to the U.S.
Wow.
He's from Miami then. He lived in Miami. He ended up pitching for Miami, and he died this Sunday or Saturday night late in like a boating accident. So it's one of those, I never really know what to do with that stuff all the way, but this one really got me for some reason. I don't know why, because I don't love the Marlins, and I don't know his story all the way. But he was so good. I think that was like, as a pitcher, like he was just dominant. And he was 24, so he was like right on the edge of becoming the best pitcher in baseball. And he still had his whole prime in front of him. And I think that was just sort of like, whoa, man, like that just kind of hits you that way. But then on top of that, people just posting like GIFs of the guy or GIFs. I don't know what we're supposed to, but videos of the guy. And like watching how much there's one going around that's like, you should love anything in your life as much as he loved baseball. And it's just him getting like super excited about one of his teammates hitting a home run. And then on top of that, on Monday night, the Marlins did this like amazing kind of tribute thing to him. So they all wore his jersey and his jersey number and like gathered around the mound before he went on and all of that kind of stuff. And they did all this stuff, and then the leadoff batter wore his batting helmet and took the first pitch of the game, batting on the same side that he would bat from. He was a pitcher, so he didn't bat that much, but he mimicked his batting style, and then flipped to the other side and hit a home run. He hit the furthest home run he's ever hit, and then like the video of this is amazing. If you haven't seen this, you should go watch this. But the hitter's name is D. Gordon, and he just, as he's leaving the field, like he can't even walk. He has to kind of be carried to the dugout because he's crying so hard. So it's just one of those, like, I think once in a while sports has this like just human emotion element to it that is just like, man, and it just connects and resonates. And then they played Take Me Out to the Ball Game, but they did it in this like super quiet, like they did it after a moment of silence, and they did this like super somber version. It was amazing. Like it was really like, it's one of those, it's one of those reasons you watch sports over the course of your life, is like every once in a while there's a moment like that where like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. So anyway, that was a super sad one, but also like just the I don't know, the uplifting nature of that moment, whether it means anything in the long run or not, I don't know, but it was a really powerful, sort of amazing moment on Monday night watching that.
That's as I'm looking at my list, and we're kicking it off with this number one. First of all, how do you find that video? You look at YouTube for D. What's his last name?
D. Gordon.
D. Gordon. So if you want to look up that video, as I'm looking down at my Fred Best, I think it's gonna be a sadder week. So if you're in need of a pep, unless you got some, maybe you'll have some joy. But there's joy mixed in with.
Yeah, I've got some serious ones this week. That's true, actually.
Yeah. But yeah, there's something also special just about baseball, and it taps into childhood for some reason, like, I don't know. I think it's categorically a different sport than all other sports. I think
that's for sure true.
And it's on this deeper level. I like, there's, for some reason, I remember, because I saw that video stuff, and for some reason, what comes to mind is playing catch with my son, and those just intimate, like, special moments where I don't know, you connect, when you throw a ball and you catch it, there's a connection, there's electricity, and seeing those videos where he is just, he's going to be out of this world.
Yeah.
And his love of the game, it brings you back to childhood. That whenever you see those videos where somebody does an amazing play, it's always a bunch of grown men acting like kids, jumping up and down and just jumping on top of each other and just doing stupid stuff. And I really enjoy baseball for what you're pointing at, and I can't really describe it. I can
that's part of
snapshots.
I think that's one of the differences in baseball. Like the kid thing is a big one, but the other one is it's an everyday sport, right? Like when you follow Major League Baseball, they play 162 games in 8 months. So it's literally almost every day. There's 1 or 2 days a week where they're not playing, but your team is not playing. But other than that, and so one of the things that's impossible is to keep that sort of childlike amazement at the game as you go through 160, because they can't all matter the same, right? Like one of the things about football is you play 16 games, so each of those matters at a disproportionate amount than baseball games do, right?
Yeah.
And
there's a grueling everyday nature.
There's an everydayness to it. So then when you see somebody like Jose Fernandez who still loves it that way in the midst of that kind of grind, he wasn't even celebrating something he did, right?
Yeah.
He's just celebrating a home run that one of his buddies hit. But in the middle of the summer, in a game that is basically meaningless, it's just amazing. I think you're right about the kid thing, right? That's how it was when we were kids. And when you were a kid, you played 12 or 15 games in a season or something, right? So I don't know. There's something really cool about that. And I think I don't know, culturally, I know men's roles, women's roles, all that kind of stuff. We have some weird stuff in all of that. But one of the places, at least in my life, it's always been okay to cry or show emotion is in sports. Yeah. And so it is when you see that happen that way, it's to see a grown man who's at the height of his powers, act like a child. There's something freeing about that. That's important.
That's good. And I think I'll switch around my role, so it'll just my number 5s and one, all the lists.
Yeah.
And we never said that these aren't in any importance.
No,
so
they're
I'm just
not.
Going to throw
That's
this
a good point. Yeah.
TV season and all these TV shows. Put down your books, start watching TV. But one of the shows that has kicked it off is Pitch. I don't know if you caught that show, Pitch.
Oh man, I haven't watched it yet. Shoot.
Highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. There's a million things out there I highly recommend, but there's Pitch is one of the ones that it floats to the top, and it floats to the top for several reasons.
All right.
But I won't do a spoiler alert. I just will say that it's always refreshing when you go into a show and you say, okay, I want to watch this just because of this premise, and then they throw other aspects on top of it, because I really wanted to watch it just because of what we were just talking about. I love the idea of baseball, and then it's an African American woman who's the first female pitcher in the major leagues, and you got me. I wanted to see what that looks like. I want to see what the drama, and they do a really good job of all that. But then they infuse human suffering, and I won't tell you how, but it's just. It makes it more real. And plus it's got that guy from Saved by the Bell.
Yeah. Mark Paul Gosselaar. I'm excited about that.
You got it.
I want to see Zach Morris play catcher.
Yeah. So I just dug it. And I dig it. There's so much potential, because there's the female thing that raises a really interesting discussion. And in race relations, it's still I think we've heard often that Sunday mornings is still the most segregated part of the week because everybody goes to their corners and worships God by themselves. There's still TV is still, I think, just as segregated as Sunday mornings. You know, there's
in a lot of ways
American shows, and then there's, you know, primarily just white shows. That's what most of the things. But I think this show does a really good job of painting a picture where we're talking about it more. And so it's good. It's good on a lot of levels.
When I first saw the premise for that show, my cynical side was like, there's just no way. And then I saw in one of the previews that that the dad is teaching her to throw, and is explaining like, hey, you have to learn this other kind of pitch because there's no way you're ever going to be able to overpower major league hitters. And I was like, okay, so they at least deal with that up front, which I appreciated, because as a sports fan, I was like, this premise is unbuyable otherwise. Like, it's just not believable.
It's totally truth. And that's my wife really that's the first part that she really loved, because she was a volleyball player, and her brother was her brother is still like a volleyball legend in Newport Harbor, and so she was always, and she just said, man, I wish my dad would have said something like that, or like taught me something like that, you know? Because anyway, it made it real tangible. That was a contact point for my wife also.
Hey, do you have any other brand new shows on your list of top 5?
No, but okay, I do think
let's take 2 seconds to talk about the other new shows we've seen so far this season. Like,
okay.
What other ones have you really liked? I know there's more, because I know you're watching a bunch of them.
Oh gosh, I like the new one. They from the same creators as Parks and Rec. They took Kristen Bell, the girl from Veronica Mars. Yeah, and they made that show that deals with the afterlife, heaven.
Yeah, The Good Place.
It's called The Good Place. It has potential. It has, but
I'm not sure. Not sure. Yeah, it hasn't been great yet.
I know it hasn't been great. But as we started watching Parks and Rec, and we realized that at the beginning of that,
it was terrible. Yeah,
it was Tom Haverford and Leslie Knope. It was just basically those two characters. And I don't know if this new one has enough characters, because they haven't introduced enough people that are interesting, but we'll see.
Yeah, so the premise of that show is
I'm hopeful.
I like the people in it. The premise of it is tough, like in terms of, I just don't know where you go or what you do with it over the long haul. Like, that was one where when I saw the first preview for it, I was like, oh, that looks funny, but it looks funny for like 4 episodes. Then I don't know that I would care.
Unless it is something drastic, I think we're on the same page.
Yeah.
But Parks and Rec was kind of the same thing. Like, why is that going to be funny? Well, I guess Midwesterners are always fun.
I liked Parks and Rec right away.
Yeah.
But it definitely didn't hit its stride until Rob Lowe and the other guy showed up. But I like that show. But that's the same creators who also did Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And that show was funny right away.
Yeah, so it was.
There's no given on that, but there was one scene in The Good Place right from the beginning that I thought was really funny that I didn't appreciate. So he talks about how the coffee shops in their part of heaven have fixed it so that there's no seam on the coffee cup, like the to-go cup, so that it doesn't dribble out of the cap.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's a weird detail to put in a show. And I don't drink coffee, so it's never occurred to me that that's a thing. And then, like, the next day, my brother and I were at a soccer game, and he's dripping all over himself through the seam of it. And I was dying. I was like, oh, man, this is perfect. I was like, all right, Good Place, you win. I didn't know that was a thing, but I guess it is a thing.
And I like that all the towns have tons of frozen yogurt places.
That's a pretty random, funny one.
Yeah.
So have you seen the new Lethal Weapon show?
No, I think it does. Has it started?
It has started. I was the most surprised at that one, because I did not think that was going to be very good, and that one's pretty good.
It's kind of like they rebooted like Rush Hour, because they tried to make that a show.
Well, they rebooted Lethal Weapon.
I know, but like Rush Hour was pretty much a similar premise, several races, like the off color, like there's just there's in one there you got an Asian American and an African American, and one you got an African American.
You're just seeing race everywhere, man.
And a honky. That'll come up in a second, but
this one is not super race driven, which is kind of nice actually. I thought like it's
Rush Hour tanked. I think they pulled it off.
Yeah, and Rush Hour is race driven, but this Lethal Weapon is like you
not too old for this stuff.
Yeah, you have the crazy white guy who just doesn't care about living anymore, and then you have the black family guy in Los Angeles who is trying to not die. And so it's funny, like that's the tension and the combination. But I wasn't real sure about the white guy in the show. Like I thought that's gonna be a tough job casting. I love Damon Wayans, so that's not a big.
I did too.
But it's been the first episode was pretty good. I'm looking forward to seeing the second episode. I thought that was pretty good. Did you see? Have you seen The Designated Survivor?
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty solid.
That surprised me more than I'd seen some trailers and I was like, okay, just go back to 24. I don't Jack, don't try and get me anything, But I think the supporting cast is actually what surprised me. Everybody was really well on a different plane of acting. I thought I like that everybody's following HBO's lead of just making a step up in the in the TV making and making it more like movie. Like they're pushing the envelope. Movie.
It just doesn't look good if they don't, right? Like something looks off for it. It's hard to buy into the shows. Yeah, but I thought it looked cool. Like, and I wasn't sure about it, and my dad was like, "Oh, I think it's gonna be really good." So I watched it just so I'd have something to talk to him about, and it ended up being like, "Yeah, that's not bad at all." I'm kind of intrigued to see what they do with it now. I dug it. And then another one that hit me was there was a new drama, and it outcries everybody, but I forget the name of it. Is it on NBC? I want to say This Is the Place or This Is Us. This Is Us. There it is. Have you seen it? No, I intentionally didn't watch it because it looked so much like that. Like that's what it was going for, and I was like, I don't care about that. I liked it for the same reason I liked Pitch, in that I saw some good stuff, but they took it to when you infuse suffering, that's when they get you. That's when they get me. Like when they just mention, like an Ecclesiastes kind of idea of, man, this world is so full of misery and so full of pain. When they're honest with that, there's truth. There's a truth to it that's awesome. Well, Skype is now available on my computer. Did you hear that? I did hear that. Exciting for you. Yeah. Wow. All right. Hello. I think that's enough of our preview for the fall television schedule. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So my second one is a quote from the book you like, the I don't know what it's called, Canoeing the Mountains. Yeah, by Bolsinger. Yeah, he's actually quoting somebody else in this quote. It's Daryl Guter. Yeah, and he did his something there under Guter. He did either one of his masters or a doctoral or something. Yeah. So like he's got like a longer quote, but the last line of the quote is that education for maintenance is not the same thing as education for mission. Ooh. And it's like I know how much you love nuggets, so that's a good one. I pulled that one out for you because I'm writing that down. Write that one down, dude. Education for maintenance is not the same thing as education for mission. And I got thinking about that because I think that's true. Like it's totally true for church, right? And this is the context that the book is. What page is it on? What page is it on? Oh, it's early. That'll save me from writing. That's a lot of words. Yeah, it's 6 words, man. You don't want to have to write all of those. Yeah, I get that. Page 31 at the very top. Okay, it's the quote. Okay, but I do think like one of the issues we run into as pastors is that we've consistently, what it made me think of is not just that we're trained for maintenance, but that we teach our congregations towards maintenance instead of towards mission. Like I think we assume like, if everything is working okay and fairly normal, then what you do on a Sunday morning is you stand up and give them a couple of points to shift in their life so that everything works better. Yeah. Right. But that's that's maintenance living. It's maintenance teaching. It's assuming that if we could just get a few more details in the right brains at the right time, their lives would be a little bit better. But that's not how you would train for mission, right? It's not how you would train for like, if you really felt like that your life was this kind of calling to really engage in suffering and to really engage in relationships, and that, then we would do something different on Sunday mornings, I think.
Yeah. I love, and I hate that quote.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because it hurts. I think I'm guilty of that. I think that's one of the major things we're missing. You know, it makes me think of when Francis Chan, he was pastoring a church in Northern California, and he came to the realization, if Jesus were in town, he probably wouldn't go to his church. He would, because it had grown too comfortable. And so he made all these stipulations, and he steered the church towards a more missional direction. But I think that's the same. He's dealing with the same thing. Like, because we're selfish people, and we think, man, you know what I need? I need to know how to live life better.
Yeah.
And so I try and equip my congregation with that. Like, okay, this is what God has taught me in my walk about living life better. And I think that's so close to the truth. You know, it's so close to what we're supposed to be doing that it can consume us and get us just, you know, like they do that youth ministry analogy. If you're aiming for the sun and you're just like 1% off, you end up like 4 billion miles away or something like that. I think that's true. I think that's the exact quote.
But I think that's right. I think that's an exact quote.
Literally. No, but you know, it's that's so close, because we want to equip ourselves and our congregation how to live life, you know, more effectively, and more so we're receiving from God and, you know, worshiping him more. But one, you know, it's from good to great. And I think the great is, no, you're missing the point. If you're not pushing mission, if you're not, to remember in Guter's lectures and Guter's, because Malia started at Princeton, so I sat in on a bunch of lectures. He would consistently just do that, like the pyramid, and say that this is how we're functioning, you know, where we got the pastor at the top and it's all being poured down from God, you know, like we're a conduit. Yeah. And he would consistently, and he'd say, but this is how the New Testament church is experiencing church. And he would just tip it on its side. And so it was pointed a direction. It was mission. It was always mission. It was about going and doing and being and transforming it. Anyway, so yeah, I love that. I love and hate it, because once again, you called me to the mat, Jason. You kind of suck at this.
I'm glad you heard what I was really saying. That's important.
Yeah. My favorite kind of aggressive, passive. All right, let's go to my number 2.
So we can replay the audio on that, Jason. Yeah. I don't think I ever said, Jason, you're terrible at your job. But if that's what you heard.
So back to television.
Yeah.
The new Survivor. And it's not, Survivor isn't my the second thing I'm mentioning. It's millennial.
Yeah.
It's millennials versus Gen X's.
I like that premise.
I do too, and it's actually it's in a couple of shows. There's a new one with the guy from Community too. I haven't seen it yet, but there's a show about that lead guy from the show Community.
Yeah,
he is in some office with a bunch of millennials. I can't wait to see it. I think it's
Joel McHale.
Yeah, Joel McHale is in this new show that I think it starts either tonight or next week, or it might have already started. I've been behind all that stuff. Anyway,
it doesn't sound like you're that far behind, but keep going.
Yeah, I love that the millennial versus not versus, but it is versus in Survivor. But like just the differences these shows are using using television as a platform to talk about something that I really enjoy thinking about and praying about, just because as millennials are coming up and taking their leadership roles, we really need to be better at communicating, knowing one another, and talking through stuff. But what made this list was, I was watching Survivor, and they're talking about the millennial versus the whatever, and this millennial girl says, "I'm sure that the Gen Xers have said this, but we are the greatest generation." And I was just like, holy smokes. What if the problem isn't us? What if the problem is them? Because we have never said that. I don't think there's ever been I think that's going to be, I think, one of their most difficult. I was trying to put myself in their shoes. Yeah. And it was like, how could they think, that we've thought that?
Yeah.
Maybe because they've thought it so much, That's what it is. And they can't imagine a world without thinking it, So when I was growing up, what a beautiful, I would say they're in that aspect. That's, I don't know. I think that's a closer to the step to the New Testament. Like the humble confidence. We got the humble down, Gen Xers. Yeah, we do not have the confidence. Yeah. No, I think that's fair. The identity confidence stuff, and in my walk, I think that's one of my biggest lessons. I keep relearning. Anyway, you were going to say something. It reminds me of when I was growing up. My least favorite food is meatloaf. I just don't like meatloaf. And call in somebody if you can explain to us how a loaf of meat became popular. With bread in it. It's not it was made in the Depression. It was designed to make meat go further, because you didn't have enough meat to go around. Somehow it's become people. Anyway, I hate meatloaf. Meatloaf. Always have hated meatloaf. And I noticed when I was a kid that every time report cards came out, we had meatloaf. And so I was pretty sure that the reason we were having meatloaf is because my mom was punishing us for report card days. Another C, Greg. Yeah, exactly. It's like, not living up to your potential again, huh? Here's some meatloaf. And so I took that, and that's how I lived my whole life, assuming that was the case. And then when I got to be an adult, I finally called my mom on it. I asked her, hey, why did you make meatloaf every report card? Why did that seems like a kind of passive aggressive way to punish me. And my mom goes, "It's your dad's favorite food, you dummy." And it was just it's totally, it's that whole thing of being able to live in the exact same world as other people and not have any idea what they're thinking, right? That's it's so narcissistic, but it's I'm sure they've thought they're the greatest generation. Is exactly it's oh man, that's brilliant. I'm sure my mom is doing this just because of me. But, but she was not. And that is a fantastically unaware thing to say about Gen Xers. That's really funny. It was interesting. It's back to my thing, man. I think Gen X or millennials and boomers, dude. Those two generations are gonna kill us all. I do too. I'm with you. Oh, how did we get sandwiched between those two? I don't know, but it's kind of the worst case scenario. Yeah, it really is. It really is. We got people above us that don't believe in us, and then the people below us don't even see us. Yeah. Our kids are our parents. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I blame it all on Felicity. Okay. I'm not kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah. But there was a lot of parenting done by the child. That's true. In that show? I never watched that show. What? Is it Felicity or is it? I don't know. What's the one with Rory? You're not helping me at all. You give me nothing to work with here. Are you married? Are you married? You're talking about Gilmore Girls? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I want you to know how big a pull that is for me. Because I have never seen that show. I know nothing about it except for this is what I did in my head.
Jason's giving the name of a WB show, Felicity. And there's something about a kid parenting the adult, which I don't think happened in Felicity because I don't think
so either. I think
so. I thought so in my head. I'm like Felicity. I know that lady. Also had Scott Foley. I know that guy. I don't think that's what he's talking about. He's got to be talking about another WB show I never watched. Oh, Gilmore Girls. That's how we got there. It had nothing to do with knowing.
I think our realities are very different. I think that's coming up again. We're married to very different people.
Listen, my wife watches Gilmore Girls, so it doesn't mean I have to watch it.
Well, see, that's where the different realities come in.
Oh, I see. So now you're calling me a bad husband. Just because I said you were bad at your job, Jason, doesn't mean I'm a bad husband. I see. It works the same way. All right, I get it. I get it.
Get me the number 3. We're out of time.
We're not doing great today. All right, so my number 3 is birthdays. Yeah, it is. I think since the last time I've had a birthday.
Yeah.
My second oldest son Calvin has a birthday, and then Abby has a birthday this weekend. So,
wow.
Yeah. So our family, like, this is like birthday couple weeks for us. But one of the things I wanted to say, because I think a lot of people who wish me a happy birthday on Facebook are probably listening to the podcast. I'm hopeful they are. I always hate that. Like, I'm always like,
I know. I missed you a happy birthday too.
I know. I always think this is the dumbest thing ever. And then when people do it, I like, oh, I love this. Like when it's about me, I love it. And then when it's about everybody else, I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
So that's my narcissism again. This is going to keep coming up, I think.
Yeah.
But so anyway, if you did wish me a happy birthday on Facebook or by text message, I actually thoroughly enjoyed that. And it always makes me feel weird because I always think I hate it. And then when people do it to me, it's like, oh, this is great. I should do this to other people. Yeah. But then what happens is I wish other people happy birthdays for like the next 2 months now because I remember that I like it. Yeah. But if you happen to have a spring birthday, you're not getting anything from me because I'll forget by then that I like getting the affirmation. So you may not get a happy birthday note from me. So if your birthday is in February, March, or April, happy birthday, everybody. I do care about you. I just don't send notes.
That's awesome. That was a really good one. Good.
That's not
amazing.
Yeah, kept it short.
I thought it was really good. Because I grew up non-birthday. I don't know, like my parents didn't give a care, but my parents.
I respect that.
Yeah, they give in different ways. If we needed something, we get it. If like if we wanted something, we usually think about it and get it. And same with Christmas. We weren't really a Christmas we weren't really celebrating kind of people.
I guess not.
So as I've gotten older and
you're like the opposite of that now.
Yeah, because I experienced my in-laws and I experienced people really. They do a birthday months and they do like birthday crazy stuff, and it's fun. It's a good reason, I think, to celebrate and reconnect with God. I think that's a good one. Anyway,
I think it is. Hey, also on that note, one of our listeners who is a consistent listener, no caller, but it's a consistent listener, is
because we can't receive calls.
Yeah, because we can't receive calls. Is Nick Matthews, and Nick is married to Emily, and they just had their first kid.
Woo,
2 or 3 days ago. They have a beautiful, huge baby named Nico, which is kind of cool. I think they're saying Nico. Maybe they're saying Nico. I don't know. Well, I'll find out. Yeah.
I saw on one television show that, on their birthday, they said happy birthday to this baby. And that's one of my favorite things to do now, too.
Yeah, right? You say happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
The other thing is, it might just be me and the people I'm interacting with, but I think babies are cuter now than when we were having kids.
I agree. I tend to agree.
I don't know why that is.
I was a crazy looking child, and I think.
Oh yeah.
But
I have 4 kids, so I saw 4 babies, but none of them were like, "Wow, that's a good looking baby." But they're all cute in their own way. Kidding? No, they're all cute in their own way, and they're good looking people now.
Colette
she was tiny. That might be it. Maybe she had that going for her.
Hands down. She's probably top 10 cutest little kids I've ever seen. And
she's a cute little kid.
But
not a baby. All right.
I thought she would start from the get-go.
That's probably true. She's cute. She's a cute one. All right, you're up.
Just to be honest, my kids, Zeke was a little funky looking. Elsie was cute. Maybe
That
it's just
was cute.
maybe it's just like a female thing. Anyway,
yeah, maybe that's what it is.
All right, my number 3, and it'll be quick and brief but amazing. Patton Oswalt on Conan.
I knew you were going to bring this one up.
If you haven't seen it, go see it. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
I dug
rough.
I dug it. And it was just it's the same reason I liked Pitch. I like that other show I can't even remember the name of, but I love when the topic of suffering is a huge part of reality comes in, and it's Patton lost his bride a couple of months ago, and he said something profound, something like the flavor of happiness. I'm just gonna have to settle for the flavor of happiness for a long time.
Yeah.
Because like he had happiness when his bride was around, but now that she's gone, just in the dark. It just brought me back to when I lost my mom and when I lost my grandparents, and when you lose, I've always liked Patton. I think he reads a lot of comic books. And he's just funny as heck, but he's also just genuine, and he just says what is in his heart really well, actually. I don't know if he's got an English
super
degree.
Poignant. He's super poignant.
He's great with words and putting thoughts and feelings and emotions into sentences is one of his fortes, and I was blown away, and it was like a piece of sacred in the middle of so it was and a buddy of mine from Biola, who's a filmmaker, he posted it on Facebook. That's a Josh Forbes. So I thank Josh Forbes.
Yeah, no, that was solid. I had seen that too. That one's. I had the same kind of. I thought of you immediately when I saw it. When I saw it, I said, "Oh, this is going to be in our 5 best this week."
All right.
Because it's like right in your wheelhouse, and it was super poignant and beautiful, and it should be in our top 5. So I thought that was really good.
Good job, Patton.
I'm with you. All right. So in that same line, my 4th one is Nazis. No, I'm just kidding.
What?
It really is Nazis, because I got wondering. Not because they're the best, but it struck me in watching like political stuff and hearing conversations that our go-to default is to insult through Nazis, right? That like, oh, Trump's going to be the next Hitler, or Hillary is blah, 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 whatever. But it always goes back to Nazis. And I had a professor I was in conversation with who pointed out why that is. And I thought this was like brilliantly insightful. So that was so here's why Nazis get used on both sides of this fight as like the great evil, because like they're recognized, everybody recognizes them as evil, right? Which is true. And so that's an obvious evil. So why do we associate the other side with that evil all the time? That's kind of the question. So the answer is the conservative side focuses on American exceptionalism, right? That the Americans are naturally better than the rest of the world. That parallels sort of Nazi narratives of their own exceptionalism, right? So that when liberals accuse conservatives of whatever, they go to Nazis because conservatives assume America is just better. But the progressive imposition of a new morality parallels Nazi belief in enlightenment and progress based on science. And so we both have these parts of our narrative that parallel Nazi Germany. And so when we get into these political debates, our impulse is to go back to the greatest evil we can think of, which is Nazism. Yeah. And then we have embedded in us that evil in a certain way, right? So it becomes easy to kind of pick at and point out. Anyway, it was an observation, way less appropriate after your last one. Yeah. But I'm sticking to the numbers, bro. I'm staying with it. But I think, but listen for it when you're watching political stuff or you're having conversations. You and I have talked about it before, but other people maybe not as much. But listen to the way that gets sort of used, and see if it has to do with the American exceptionalism on one side and the belief in progress and scientific, development on the other side. Yeah, I do. That's I don't. If we've talked about it, I don't remember talking about it much. If we have, we should talk about it more, because this is my favorite of your one so far. Because because I tend to just chalk it up with they're just using it as it was the most
recent huge evil.
Yeah.
You know? What did they use before Nazis? I wonder.
Jews, I think.
Really?
I think, well, in certain places for sure.
Yeah.
That was like, there was always like this go-to evil, right? But, and it depended on where you lived. But yeah, largely in the world, that was one of the stigmas of being Jewish. Yeah.
Wow. It's just crazy that, but I haven't really dissected it, and I think it'd be really helpful. And that's just, I like it when you give us tools. I like us when you give us just something to put a handle on it. Because it was interesting, because I was reading Metastasis's Bonhoeffer, you know, that biography.
Yeah.
I love that. I should probably look at that again, because I think he is. That's it. That's exactly what he's doing. Because as I was reading it, I don't know if it was subliminal or intentional, but I automatically drew it to I was thinking of the current conversation in the Peace USA of the homosexuality, the ordaining and the weddings of the marriage of homosexuals, and I think that's exactly why I was thinking that. I think he has similar language, conservative side of it, painting the Nazis as scientific and claiming to know everything because they have science.
Right.
And anyway, so it makes me want to read that book again. And it makes me want to think about, okay, maybe that's just part of the picture.
That's the thing, right? Yeah, like we're all implicated in it. I think that's the part that we don't name or are honest about. But yeah.
And those are always the most useful. I think those are the most useful tools to help me, because we're always, it comes back to Wendell Berry, like most of these podcasts. But like when Wendell Berry says, all of our forefathers owned slaves. What's that in our mind? What's that in today's generation? What are we not seeing that we're doing? And these blinders are actually some of the most dangerous things that we have to deal with. Like the fact that we do label evil however we see it with this Nazi tag. Anywho.
There's more there. We can unpack that in the future.
We can keep talking about that. Let's go to my number 4.
Yeah.
I was reading in Time magazine. I had a dentist appointment, and my dentist is amazing, but they didn't figure out that my wife and I were both coming in at the same time. So we had the same hygienist. So I sat around this dentist's office for an hour and a half or whatever. Well, my wife's teeth got cleaned, and then I got my teeth cleaned. And anyway, I got to read the latest Time magazine. I think it was Time magazine or Sports Illustrated. I'm not sure. It had to do with that San Francisco guy,
Colin Kaepernick.
The Kaepernick.
Kaepernick.
Yeah. Really helpful. I thought and that's probably why I've been just seeing with like these racial relations in pretty much everything, and just thinking through all these things. But I thought the most helpful and the most, I don't know, my favorite part of the magazine was towards the end. There's an article about how the monument for the there's an African American museum that's just showed up on the National Mall in DC.
Yeah.
And there was an article about it, and it just the structure of it. It's in a really good location, which is awesome. It's been a long time coming, because I think one of the presidents, like Eisenhower or something, got the ball rolling or something. It's been rolling for a long, long time. And there's a quote in it. It says this, the guy writing it says this museum, it has to both pass through hell and point to the Wilder. And I think it all comes back to that infusing of the suffering and the reality of, I think that's the point we need to be focusing on and praying about as followers of Jesus, about we have to own up to the truth that the African Americans that came to this country and built this country, like we as white, Caucasian, European descendants, we put these fellow humans through hell, and the white privilege stuff, and we tend to just gloss over it. I tend to just gloss over it, and I really liked how this endeavor, this museum, focusing on the pain and the misery, but also the beauty and the gold that's found in the redemptive stuff. I just made me want to really go see this museum, and I thought it was a nice capstone to this magazine that was trying to bring up the conversation about race relations. And since there's been all these shootings, it's out of control. I don't even know how to talk and think about it. So I think that's another reason I really appreciated it. It gave me just something to focus on and meditate.
Yeah.
And to chew on, and to maybe, what's his face? Wendell, once again, he says, like doing something is better than doing nothing. Like if you just start somewhere, it doesn't even matter if you think that you can't, because you just take off a little piece and try and do something. And so I was just taking off a little piece and just trying to change at least my own heart, or change something, and then maybe it'll grow into something beautiful. Who sees? Who knows?
I'm with you, man. That it's we've talked about that one a bunch before too, and it's just such an enormous task, and it does feel like anything we do is wrong, or like that we can't do enough. And I think that's all true. That one bleeds naturally into my fifth one.
Okay.
So I want to just kind of dovetail, which every once in a while happens. So the psalm for this week is Psalm 137 in the lectionary reading, which is this horrific psalm. But it starts with this, by the waters of Babylon, is this like opening line of the psalm. And the psalm is essentially Israel in Babylon as captives being asked to sing their songs to the people who are enslaving them. And one of the pieces that has jumped out at me this week, in light of I think a lot of the stuff you were just bringing up, Jason, is just how often as white folks we've asked the black church to do that for us.
Yeah.
To sing their songs for us, and to like I can't imagine, I've heard somebody say this once a long time ago, and I can't remember who it was, but the idea that slaves would convert to their master's faith is just like, or be forced to, or end up doing it, or like, it's astonishing that there's a black church at all.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. And it's one of those, like, I'm consistently, I don't have nearly enough black pastor friends in my life to speak into my life that way and to remind me of some of that stuff. I have some, but not enough. And so kind of, you have this psalm ends with dashing babies against the rocks.
Yeah.
And it's this really, like, my guess is most of our churches won't use that psalm this Sunday.
Yeah.
And I think that's wise in some ways, but there's also the element of, if we're going to read that psalm Christologically, or learn to hear it as Christians, I think it's okay to look at that again and say, maybe there's another way to hear the end of that psalm. And I think there's some like ancient Christian writers who are helpful here, but the idea that we would smash the things that enslave us against the rock who is Jesus,
Yeah.
Makes way more sense, right? Like
it does.
That's prayable. And I think so I think Psalm 137 is one, it's a psalm that gives us kind of the empathy to learn to at least be sympathetic to the black situation and the black, like what it meant to be slaves. Like I don't understand it still, but there's an element of like, man, even our psalm, like even when Israel was enslaved, they wrote these psalms about having to sing for their tormentors. Yeah. And it's like we have to hear ourselves in that somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, to think that those things still enslave us in ways we don't understand or are aware of, but that we can turn that back towards Jesus and take something like this, like race and like division and evil, and smash those things against Jesus and say, just break those, right? And then when you hold that with Jesus has this great sort of psalm, like when he calls himself the cornerstone. Yeah. He has this great line about if you're a clay pot and you fall on the stone, it's bad for the pot, and if you're a clay pot and the stone falls on you, it's bad for the pot. It doesn't matter. Like it's like Jesus the rock is going to destroy this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so we can fight that and it'll be bad for us, or we can submit to that, right?
Yeah. Two thoughts. One of them is I remember in the 90s going to EV Free Fullerton, and I remember hearing and thinking about this conversation of what does the church look like when it's not persecuted? You know, because all throughout the New Testament, the church is persecuted, and for most of church history, the persecuted church is where the church grew. And how do we, as people in abundance, relate with this persecuted faith?
That's right.
And how obtuse, we were, like there was no this race relations, like I just think the church was missing an opportunity for over, a decade, or probably, I don't know how long, but missing this opportunity of learning from the African American faith, because these faiths that are forged in persecution are a different breed. I got a taste of it the last time when I went to Thailand, and I was working with Burmese refugees, and the gospel was brought into Burma. And so there's this huge, this state in Burma that is just followers of Jesus, and it's surrounded literally on all sides by Buddhism and Hinduism and all these other faiths that are honestly persecuting them. They're dying and they're getting crushed. And so I'm meeting these Burmese followers of Jesus that their faith has been forged by just animosity and people against them. It's just a different breed. And I think we missed an opportunity, huge opportunity, to learn from our African-American brothers and sisters. And we should have been, and so I'm kind of just saying shame on all my leaders right then, shame on, I don't know, for not opening my eyes to that. And the second thing that came to mind that'd make an awesome story of a slave praying for his master and the master being saved because of it. I don't know. And I think, because I wonder how many people are going to be in the kingdom eternal because of Psalm 37.
137.
Jews, 137. I thought I said 137, but maybe I did. I forgot the one. But the 137, just because but the Hebrew nation singing and praising God and praying that they would both be saved, and that through the refining process, their persecutors would be brought closer to God. I don't know. It's just cool.
That is really cool.
I think that's a good storyline. Anywho, all right, I'll end it with my fifth one is The Boss. I don't know if you know, but his biography, I think, came out yesterday. His autobiography, or memoir, or whatever. It's
whatever it is,
Born to Run. And there's a companion CD that's coming, and I just he I'm a huge fan of his slower stuff.
Okay,
like,
so real quick, because you didn't say
stuff.
this yet, but if you're a young person, the boss is Bruce Springsteen. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. That's not true. Everybody knows who the boss is, right?
No, man. But go ahead. Sorry, you love his slower stuff. I agree with you.
I love The Ghost of Tom Joad, Nebraska. Those two albums, I think every person should own and listen to on a regular basis. And it's simply because it's what I've been talking about. All 5 of my top 5 is just the humanity, just the messed upness of the cultural and the world that we're living in. And in particular, what made the 5 is he was on Colbert. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not.
He is on Late Night with Colbert, and Stephen canceled because I think he had another guest and a musician, but he canceled everybody and just took the opportunity to sit and talk with him. And Stephen said, I rarely get nervous, but it's with musicians that I get nervous. And usually it's because I forget how he put it. He put it better than I'm going to put it, but he basically, because they're deeper. They're a deeper class of human. They're a different, like they're on a different level than most of they're on this artistic plane, dealing with ground of meaning kind of stuff. And then and Stephen, being a devout Catholic, talked and asked Bruce about his faith. And he said, I think I can boil all of my songs down to the lyrics are blues, and the body, the verse and the chorus is gospel. Almost every one of my songs, it's verses, blues, and gospel in the chorus. And I thoroughly enjoyed listening to Bruce. You know what I appreciate about Bruce? Bruce is almost like if Bob Dylan didn't go isolationist on us, and you can understand him still, and he didn't go show tuning. I can't believe that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Get me started on that.
I'm not going to get you started on that. I know better. There are things I know.
Yeah. Anywho. And another thing that kind of popped out is the artists often, and this brings me back to when you first handed me Irresistible Revolution, and you said, I think this guy wrote this and he doesn't even know how deep and how profound and how good that this is. Do you remember when you said that to me?
I don't, but it sounds like something I would say.
That sounds true.
I don't know that it sounds true. It just sounds like something I would say, which is not necessarily true by any means. Super arrogant sounding.
No, but I think it is true, and I think that often happens. It happens in our preaching. It happens in these stories that we read. Sorry, the phone is still on. Can you hear the phone ringing?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that.
Were you playing music earlier too?
Yeah, the boss has been on my CD player ever since.
My gosh.
So when Stephen was asking about these things, you could tell he wasn't even on the level that he had written. I don't know. That was an interesting observation. I was just like,
so that's my huge thing with Bruce Springsteen, because I think you're right. Like I don't know most of his stuff very well. Like the only album of Bruce Springsteen I've ever listened to all the way through is Born in the USA.
Yeah.
Sorry. I know.
That's your painful problem right there.
I know. That was
away. Honestly, go and buy it.
I know. Nebraska. That's the one you always tell me to get.
Nebraska. Or The Ghost of Tom Joad. Either one of those two.
All right. I haven't got to my point yet, which is I hear everything you're saying, and then every time I listen to him interviewed, I think, what an idiot. It's like I think this guy has one remarkable skill, which is he can write music.
Yeah.
Like he can write songs. I don't even know about the music part of it, but this lyrically songwriting. And then outside of that, it just seems like there's nothing going on. Am I wrong about that?
You are very wrong. I think he has a Dylan-esque voice, and he has a Dylan-esque way of phrasing things that brings out truth.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I already conceded that. I said he's good at writing music.
Yeah.
But every interview I've ever seen with him, I leave thinking this guy's kind of a dope.
Yeah. No, you gotta. Yeah. You just watch that interview too. Even him.
I will look at that one.
Him talking.
And I got to get Nebraska. I have not yet listened to Lemonade because you never sent it to me. And I certainly did not listen to the Rihanna one. So
come
Nebraska,
on, for Jamie.
I may listen to Nebraska.
For Jamie. Yeah.
Jamie, again, I'm like, we love you. We're glad that you were on the podcast, but it's just not going to happen.
Oh gosh. Well, I love you, brother. We will
talk to you, bro.
Yeah, I'll talk to you next week. We're back on Donkey Kong. The internet is back working. World Wide Web.
Best thing, we went all 5 and didn't even bring up the debate.
I know.
Awesome.
I was pondering it, and I was thinking that we'd use it as background talk.
Yeah.
I think you're right in that he's trying to scale back, but I think I was right in that there's no way that guy can seem not like a murderer. I think Trump has got some problems, and Clinton got even more problems. I heard a really funny joke the other day. What was it? Oh, if God wanted us to vote, he would have given us a candidate.
I like that one. On that note, we are going to talk to you next week. Feel free to call in next week. We'll take calls. All right, we'll talk to you later.
Hey, maybe our next guy should be Travis.
That would be good. Travis would be up for it.
Yeah.
The time we record doesn't work for him, but we could figure it out.
He doesn't wake up?
He's got a real job, man. He's not like us.
You just call in.
He's had a job.
I know. Just call in sick or something, you know?
Oh, actually, yeah. He could just take a vacation day to be on our podcast. That makes sense. He'd probably do that.
Yeah, he's got nothing but time. 2 kids.
Yeah. All kinds of time. All right, brother.
I'll talk to you next week.
We'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right, bye.